Hi.
Hello guys, if you're brand new to my channel, my name is Nikki and this is my book nook. Today we are talking about The Sweetest Oblivion, which is the first book in the Maid series by Danielle. I'm pretty sure that this has been the most requested book for me to review on this channel since starting it, and after finishing it, I totally understand why y'all recommended it to me because right up my alley. So The Sweetest Oblivion in the entire Maid series is a mafia romance. In all honesty, I'm pretty sure that this is the first true mafia romance I've read. I've read a lot of books that have mafia-esque sort of themes to it, but never that were straight up mafia, besides Duplicity on Wattpad. That's a whole nother story though. But this story takes place in New York. It follows a girl named Elena Abelli. Her family, her father especially, is very big in this whole mafia sphere. I don't know a ton about the mafia. I'm not super educated on it, so I don't know. I assume that this is not based off of real things. That's like the dumbest thing I've ever said, but they're part of this group called like the Cosa Nostra or something like that. It's mentioned very often. That might be real, I don't know. But her family is very involved. There's a couple of like key players, it seems, in this whole world, and her dad is a very big one. So the book starts out straight up introducing a theme that is very common amongst the mafia romance genre, which is arranged marriage. Elena's sister has been promised to this man, Nicholas Russo. He goes by Nico. He is like the youngest Don in New York. He's 29 and he is notorious. He goes by Ace. It's a nickname he got from a very interesting way that he dealt with someone in the past, and he is just notorious for being like, nobody messes with him. He is top dog, he's terrifying, but of course he's also stunningly attractive, right? Elena, even though she is the oldest daughter and should technically be the one that was promised to Nico for this whole business arrangement between the two families, for reasons we don't find out until later in the book, Elena has been proclaimed by her father to be not fit for marriage. Something happened, something scandalous in the community, and she kind of has a reputation of her own. She is known as the Sweet Abelli. That's what everybody calls her because she's very sweet and she wears pink and she comes off as very like daddy's girl, like does everything right, but she did something very out of character like 6 months before this story takes place, and it kind of rocked the world and everything. But yeah, basically Elena couldn't be promised for marriage, so now her sister is being promised to Nico. Elena and Nico do not get off on the best foot. She knows of his reputation, she knows that he's a womanizer, she knows that he's done horrible things, and she really has no interest in getting to know him. She pretty much right off the bat just glares at him, disrespects him. Very scandalous things to do in this community. You don't do that. The women are all very, they listen to the men, they are subservient, and she's testing the waters by not basically praising him. And it's very much like an enemies situation. They rub each other the wrong way. They bicker right off the bat. Lots of banter, lots of tension, lots of angst. Elena's sister is not at all thrilled about having to marry Nico. She's actually has like a boyfriend of her own, but this is how things go in the mafia. Marriages are business transactions and she has to keep up her end of the deal for her family. That's what happens. And so essentially we have found ourselves in quite the predicament here. Elena can't stand Nico. He also can't stand her because like, who does she think she is? Acting this way around me, talking to me this way. But of course they also can't get each other out of their heads because they test each other. They're different, you know, they're mysterious, and you know, he's obviously promised to her sister. It's just a very like slow burn, tense, spicy moment. I really can't say too much else about this book without giving away spoilers, because in all honesty, there's not like much of a plot to this book. I'm not saying that to like throw shade. I don't mind if a story is more character driven than it is plot driven. I did like this story. I mean, there were some moments where I was like on the edge of my seat. Some things were very tense, but really the whole story is just kind of like a bunch of interactions, a bunch of Nico and Elena running into each other, going to a family dinner together, going to a family lunch together, going to church, whatever. Just like they are constantly running into each other, and it's just a bunch of like tense, angsty interactions for like a majority of the book. And I just feel like with this being my first like true mafia romance, I think I just expected I think there was so much more potential for the mafia aspect of it. Like, I think a lot more could have been done with that. And I'm thinking that maybe that will happen more later in the series. But something happens very early on in this book, like first chapter or two, that I was thinking was like setting the tone for the rest of the book. And when it happened, I was like, okay, I'm buckling up. I'm ready to go. This is going to be a wild ride. And then that was like by far the craziest thing that happened the whole book. I also feel like the slow burn, the tension was very good, but I think when it came to the actual spice and things happening, I have to say I was like a little bit let down. And maybe it was just because the slow burn was so drawn out and so tense, but the spice just like didn't quite do it for me in the way that other books have. And the last kind of like complaint I have to mention about this book, it's kind of a two-parter. First of all, Elena's internal monologue. This book does give dual perspective. We do see Nico, his side of things in it, but a majority of the book is Elena. I'd say like 80% is her perspective. Homegirl had like one of the most exhausting internal monologues to read that I've ever read. Starting out, it was very good, but I just found it to be very repetitive, and there was too much of it. Like, literally, she'd be having a conversation with Nico, and let me try to like improv here. He'd be like, hi, my eyes flick to his, heat rushes my cheeks, I feel something twist in my stomach, and I don't know why I feel this way. Hello, Nico. What are you doing? Oh, my cheeks redden, and my stomach turns, and fluttering hits me, and I don't, like, it's, that was absurd and not at all what it's like. But it just, there was too much like descriptive, oh, this is tense, oh, I'm attracted to you, oh, like, why do I feel this way? Like, I think that there was just, I love that stuff. I love when that stuff is in books. I just think it was like a little too repetitive and a little too much, and it didn't need to be in between like every line that was exchanged. Like, I just found myself kind of like halfway through the book, I was skimming a lot because she just thinks a lot, and Nico didn't really do that. So I don't know why Elena's internal monologue was just so long and drawn out when it wasn't needed. Also, just in general, the writing and grammar of this book is not fantastic. There are a lot. It took me a minute to get used to. Once I got used to it, it was fine, but there's a lot of like run-on sentences, comma usage. We don't know her. I don't want to be like snobby about that, and I love to give like indie authors the benefit of the doubt. I totally know like mistakes happen. No tea, no shade. It's just, it's something you gotta point out, you know, when you're reviewing books. If the grammar is not there, it's kind of, you know, it takes it down a little bit of a notch. All of this being said, this was a 4-star read for me. It wasn't like the greatest book I've ever read, but it certainly entertained me. It was a very easy book to read in the sense that you just like, it kept you on your toes. You wanted to know what happened. You were sucked in. It was very tense. Nico was moi, but I just think the plot was a little bit lacking. I think there could have been more. There were some cute moments, and like in the end, I was kind of like, oh, you know how it is. You know how like you're like when you're like 3/4 of the way through, and you're like, I don't know, I'm a little disappointed, but then some stuff happens at the end and things wrap up, and you're like, oh my god, okay, I really like this book. So it was good. I would totally recommend it if you're a fan of like Penelope Douglas books. If you like the slow burn, the tension, the spice, dark romances, it's very good. But I will say it's just not as dark or crazy or as intense as I was expecting it to be, and as some other books that I've recently read I'm complaining about grammar, and I literally don't know how to speak English. But yeah, I really liked this book. If y'all read The Sweetest Oblivion, let me know all your thoughts down below. If you've read the rest of the Maid series, tell me what your favorite book in it is so far. I gotta be honest, when I read I skimmed the description of book 2 last night, and when I saw it's about Gianna, I'm kind of like, I don't know that I care to read about her. So if y'all have read that one and it's good, like, let me know. Obviously don't tell me what happens, but like, if the rest of the series is really good and you liked it, Just give me your thoughts. I'm rambling. You know what I'm saying. Thank you guys so much for watching. That is it for me today, and I will talk to y'all very soon. Bye.